On today's episode of Creative Nostalgia with Laura Bray, we're going to make felt play food for your child's kitchen. On the menu today, lasagna. For the lasagna recipe, you need to get some felt in a brown, red, and cream colored, a loaf pan with a lid, and you can get any size loaf pan. You could even get a real lasagna tray. And one of the most important things that you'll need is a wave rotary cutter. First in the recipe, you need to make some lasagna noodles. So you take your cream felt and you cut it into 6.5 by 2.5 inch strips. The important thing is to use the wave rotary cutter because that's going to give you the look of a lasagna noodle. Once you've cut 6 lasagna noodles, you'll take 2 and pin them together. And then go to your sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way around, connecting the lasagna noodle. When you're done, you'll have a nice, fluffy, firm lasagna noodle. Now for the reason we all eat lasagna, the cheese layer. Again, cut about 4 strips, straight edge again, and you'll want to connect 2 strips and sew them just like we did with the noodle. And then to give your cottage cheese ricotta layer some texture, go ahead and just free motion, go a little crazy. Some people might want to practice some of their quilting and do a pebble. I just kind of did some waves and got a little bit of texture and fluff to my cheese layer. The meat layer, again, straight edges, 6.5 by 2.5 inch squares. And again, this time I just did kind of a brick so it almost looked like a ground beef. Just doing free motion quilting on my sewing machine. Now, if you're a vegetarian or you don't want to make a meat lasagna, you can get some green felt and just freehand cut some spinach leaves, and you can add those instead of a meat layer. Next on our recipe is to make the sauce. All you have to do is cut about 3 strips, 6.5 inches by 2.5 inches, and be sure not to use the wave rotary cutter this time. You just want a straight edge on these. Now for the fun part, you get to build the lasagna. Bring the kids in, or don't, and start building your lasagna. Your first layer would be a noodle layer. And then go crazy, however your family builds lasagna. Maybe they put a layer of meat, a layer of sauce, that delicious cheese that I was talking about, and another noodle. You can keep going, just it's up to you about how many of these strips you want to make. I store them in a loaf pan. My child can then bake them in the oven and put them away in here. I'm hoping she's going to put them away. I also like to make a few other recipes. I've made raviolis out of felt with a little sauce and, of course, Parmesan cheese, because we've talked about my cheese fetish. And a really simple Italian meal for your child's kitchen is to cut strips of ribbons and put them into an old pasta box that you have just laying around the house. And then they have spaghetti. We do want to remember that all of these projects are for children who understand that this is not real food and it shouldn't be put in their mouth. So that's my Italian felt food kitchen for this week, and bon appetit!